Welcome back to Everybody's Got a Podcast, episode number 3. We're going to be talking about dating in Russia today. This is going to be continuing my series on a foreigner's life in Russia. Now, I should mention a disclaimer for all of these videos, podcasts in this series. I'm going to be giving just my opinion and my experiences about things. I'm not going to be giving kind of what I think is objective truth. I'm just going to give my experiences about it. So just be prepared for that, right? So, if you come to Russia, if you decide you're going to move here, teach English or whatever, or some other job, your experience may be different. So, if it is different and it's worse, please don't come yelling at me. I didn't do anything. Alright, so let's get into this. So the time of recording this, it is the 2nd of March, 2019. Uh, Quite early in the morning. I'm not gonna say how early it is, but definitely know that I definitely should be in bed. But sometimes you have the drive to do things, so yeah, I thought, why not? It's Friday. I guess it's Saturday now. Um, so I'm gonna do it. So the weather here, quite bad. It was, I guess it was about plus or not plus. It was +4 earlier in the week. Now it's like -7 again. Lots of snow. Not a whole lot of snow, but enough snow that I hate it. and and it's gonna get even colder, like real feel -16. This is Celsius, by the way. Real feel -16 on Sunday. Um, but what I wanted to talk about today was dating in Russia. Now, this is just from my experiences having lived in Orlando. And well, I went to university there for 4.5 years ish, about. And now living here for almost 3 years. So I'm gonna give my experience, and that was from the age of 17 till now. I'm 25 now. So I want to get into this. So I wanted to start off with, I guess, just kind of talking about what it's like dating here in Russia, and a little bit of my experiences with this. Um, so my first real foray into dating here was, I don't know, not too long to be honest, after I moved here. Um, I would say I really had my first date maybe in October of 2016. I met with someone in September, but it didn't go into anything. And the October one ish did, but I'm not going to get into the specifics of any of relationships or anything. Just kind of my experiences, what it was like, just going on dates. So dating here is it's a bit more old fashioned than America. In America, of course, it's I wouldn't say it's expected. It's not expected that a man pays for everything on the first date. A lot of the times, at least in my experiences, was that it was kind of common for the man to pay on the first date. However, if the woman, I mean, I'm heterosexual, so I can't say for homosexual or bisexual relations. Um, but I would say for the woman, it was more like she should offer, but usually it's kind of just expected the man's going to do it. Now, a lot of people don't. A lot of people just go 50-50, and that's great. Nothing wrong with that at all. I like it, saves me money. um, but that doesn't happen here. That no, never happens here. On a first date here, one, you gotta show up. Well, of course, on time. That's expected everywhere. Two, you gotta have flowers. If you're a guy, you gotta bring flowers, and it's not just any flowers. You gotta find the right flowers. However, I guess as a foreigner, you get kind of leeway into being creative with your flower choices. For example, I've given lavender before, and that was actually a pretty big hit. They texted me the next day saying that, like, oh, they loved it because now their whole room smelled like it. And they ended up really liking it. Now I usually do roses, just red, or pink. Like there's this cool pink yellow mix they do. Um, but usually just standard red, 5 or 3 depending. Um, and when I say depending, I mean depending on how confident I feel about the date. Like talking on Tinder before, talking on Badoo before, it's like you can kind of get a scope of what it's going to be like. Do you know if it's going to be fun or if it's going to be like you're really going to have to pull out questions, but you're still interested. Um, so the first date I ever went on, I did bring flowers. However, it didn't go anywhere. It was like we met, I brought her flowers. We went, God, I don't even remember. I just remember my phone SIM card wasn't working at the time. So I was trying to go off my roaming date on my American card. And I got a big flood of texts like 5 minutes after we were supposed to meet. I was at the place, but apparently she had come out on a different side or something of the train of the metro station, and I got a big flood of texts. Where are you? Where are you? Um, so that was not the best start. However, we did go to a coffee house. Now she didn't speak any English. I would say my Russian at the time was I don't know, A2. Not great. A2, if you don't know, is like mm, it's like starting pre-intermediate. The scale goes A1, well, pre A1, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. C2 being like academic university level, A1 being like you just picked up a dictionary. So mine was like A2, which was I could understand conversation a bit, but not a whole lot. So that was not the best idea. However, I really liked her, and it was fun, and we still I still follow her on Instagram. She follows me. Occasionally like each other's photos. But nothing really. I'm not like looking like, oh, I wish you would come back. No. Um, it was fun. It was a good experience. It kind of helped me understand a bit more. Um, so the next one was pretty cool. I've gone to Pizza Hut for several dates. Not on my choice, actually. Not on my choice. Usually someone else choosing. Say, hey, let's go to Pizza Hut for this. And all right, yeah, okay, he eats Pizza Hut, you know. Not my favorite, but yeah, that was Pizza Hut. So it is quite funny bringing flowers to a date at Pizza Hut. I feel like it's just a bit of a clash there. Like flowers, you'd expect like a steakhouse or some sort of cool cafe or like some hip place, some nice place. Pizza Hut. Mm, but hey, you know who? If they want Pizza Hut, let's go to Pizza Hut, right? That's always been my perspective. Is if you want it, let's do it. Why not? Be fun. Um, God, usually it's tacos though, because I love tacos. But that's not what I'm talking about today. Anyways, dating. Um, so dating can be difficult here, especially if you don't know Russian super well. If you don't know Russian at all, I don't know. I feel like it might be easier because then you don't feel like you can date everyone. You feel like you can only date people who only speak or who do speak English. And if you speak Russian, I feel like I have this propensity to want to message people or talk to people who don't speak English all that much. Um, and it usually doesn't end up well. I can't say I've had like a, a full blown long term relationship here in the past 3 years. I've had some short ones, but nothing super big. So maybe my plan's not working out very well. Um, but dating like I said, it's a bit more difficult because you need to bring flowers. The girl is often late. I've found it's anywhere between 5 to 40 minutes late, and it's just kind of expected. I guess it's like um if you remember that episode of SpongeBob where Patrick and SpongeBob go to paint Mr. Krabs' house and they arrive fashionably late at 8:01 instead of 8 o'clock. It's like that, but 40 minutes instead of 1 minute. um, but that's okay. I mean, like if I ever schedule a date, it's always on like Saturday or Sunday when I have plenty of time. I never schedule a date where I have a little bit of time. It's just it's not it's uncouth. I would say it's uncouth to plan a date where you know you like if you're not on schedule you kind of have to rush them out. That's just it's not a good idea. So back to dating, I would say I've only ever had maybe one or two um bad dates here, and I would say only one of them was due to a lack of understanding rather than just bad circumstances. One of them was just like it wasn't very fun. We talked, we had a good conversation, but we just kind of felt it wasn't there. The other one, though, I felt like I was being judged the whole time. It was like we went on the date, and I didn't bring flowers, and she seemed very disappointed by that. That's a bit weird because I mean flowers are nice, but they're not. It's not something that should be expected. You should, in my opinion, a date should be like, you both want to see each other. If you don't want to see each other, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what's brought, then well, I wouldn't say totally regardless of the circumstances, but I would say that it. I mean, maybe it's just the American in me saying that like you should be able to meet kind of anywhere. Like just walk in the park, go to a cafe or whatever, drink some coffee, and that's. I've had that a lot in America. I've also had it here, so I wouldn't say it's different between the two places. However, I would say the ideas of what's supposed to happen on the date are different. Um, and it makes it especially hard when you don't speak Russian. Now I can speak Russian well enough to go have like a 2 hour, 3 hour date and be fairly in my comfort zone, missing a few things here and there. Um, and I will say I do tend to stick with people who do speak English. Because I mean, I would say a lot of people will tell you the same thing. I can speak the language fairly well. I'm just way less interesting in my second language, right? Obviously, even people who grow up speaking a language, your first language, you're always going to be able to say things better, uh, more tactfully, and just in, I don't know, just a more interesting way. Um, so the dating, to go back to the one that was kind of odd, was like, I felt like I was being judged the whole time. And it was weird just in the sense because I felt like it's like on a date you shouldn't really feel like you're being judged. Like a lot of times, well, I've had this in America too. I did have one date in America where it was weird because it's like we went to, I don't know, Olive Garden or something, one of those date places. Um, and it was weird because it was like I felt like the whole time she was just trying to catch me out intellectually. Like, ooh, look at this guy, not as smart as me. I'm not gonna date him. So it was quite weird. Um, but the dating customs are different, right? Because in America, a lot of the times it's like you meet, like the first date is always like a casual get to know each other date. In America, you meet up for coffee, you go walk in a public place in the daytime, and maybe get coffee. You just walk around, you talk, you have fun, you just get to know each other. Very casual. There's no real kind of intentions to it. It's basically like meeting as friends. But here, I felt like the first date is like this. It's like God, I don't know how to describe it. It's like if you don't master the first date, then you don't get any second dates. For at least for me in America, like there was I would say if you didn't hate each other on the first date, a second date was pretty much kind of in the bag. Like if you meet and you have coffee, you have decent conversation, I think most people would be intrigued enough to have a second date. Here, it's more like I need to master the ballet of the first date to be able to get that second date. And it becomes harder and harder, I would say. I mean, most people feel this way when you date and miss, date and miss, date and miss. You eventually you want to put in less effort, and it's especially hard when you don't speak the same language natively and you don't really know the city. That makes it hard too because they want here the man plans everything usually, and when you don't really know the city or what's cool or what's open or what's you know fun to do, what people like doing, it makes it difficult. In America, I like to do. I wouldn't say it was formulaic in the way I went about dates, but I really like to do coffee on the first date, bowling on the second date, or a restaurant on the second date, and then bowling and maybe something a bit different on the third date. I liked bowling because it allowed you to have times where you didn't talk, have times where you do talk, maybe have a drink, maybe have some food, uh, play a little bit of a game, have a winner, you have a story to tell, right? And it takes up a couple hours. It was like a perfect date thing. Here, if you suggest bowling for a date, if you suggest, hey, this is the second time we've gone on a date, let's go bowling. They're gonna look at you like you just said, hey, let's go start the Fourth Reich. Um, it's like it just no, absolutely no. Um, I like to do creative dates. I like to do like rock climbing is a fun date for me. But here it's like if you like I said, if you don't really master the ballet of the date, you don't get the next date, and it makes it very difficult. But once you get to like a certain point, you you kind of can just go smooth sailing. Um, Now I wouldn't say I'm master at it, and as I said, I haven't really had full long-term relationships here, so I can't really get too much into the whole long-term relationships deal. But I've had a lot of first dates, a lot of first dates. Um, and I would say that also comes down to me. I'm the kind of person where if I don't really feel it, I won't pursue it. Um, so, all right. So to recap everything I've said recently, I would say that in America it's much more casual. It's much more kind of get to know each other first and kind of slowly go into the dating. Whereas in Russia, I feel like it's more, first date is like the decider. If you don't do it, then there's not really anything afterwards. Sometimes there is, right? I've had before where first date was not good, but afterwards it was pretty good. It was much better. Um, so it really depends. It depends. Um, so Russia, you need to bring flowers. You gotta bring flowers, and I know there's like some superstition where, like you have to bring an odd number, because even numbers are for funerals or something like that, and you can't bring certain colors. You can't bring yellow because that's for breakups. Yeah, it's hard. I just bring like purple flowers because Orlando City. I'm a big Orlando City fan. Maybe I'll talk about soccer in the future, but I'm a big Orlando City fan, so I just go with purple every time, and I get 3 or 5, depending on which flower I get, and depending on how I feel about it. So, I guess I could regale a story. I could regale you a story about what I've experienced in Russia in terms of dating. Now, let me start with a date that I had in 2017. I would say in April of 2017. It was pretty good. It lasted for a while. However, it ultimately just kind of petered out. After it just started in April, ended it in beginning of August. So 4 months. Now it was pretty casual. The first date was literally just we met up and I butchered speaking Russian for 2 hours, walking around, and it was honestly I thought it was dead. I thought that nothing's gonna happen after this, and this is just an example of a casual date I've had. And we literally just walked around for 2 hours. I tried to speak Russian, and I spoke some English too. She spoke some English, and it was just pretty cool. The difference though it was at night. And it was in a pretty secluded. I wouldn't say secluded area, but we um we did walk around actually on the street that I live on now, which is a bit odd. Um, but it was a pretty good day. We walked around. I remember we tried to go to a cafe, one of my favorite cafes, and it was closed because it was after 9 o'clock. It was still pretty. It was well, it wasn't super dark because it does like it. Honestly, the sunset changes by like 2 minutes every day here. And in the summer we do have white-ish nights, not fully. Um, so And that was a good casual date that ended up going places, right? We dated for 4 months. Um, but that's not always specifically the case. I've had other dates where we dated for 3 months and it started off kind of the same way as I said earlier, about bringing the flowers and everything. All right, so I feel like I've repeated myself several times in terms of dating. So I'm gonna move over. I want to talk about friends and things like that because, and not just because I've had several times where I go on a date on Tinder and come later to find out they were just searching for friends. They didn't tell me that, and they sure let me pay for the date, but they didn't tell me that until afterwards. Now I think that was, um, trying to let me off the hook or trying to let me off. Whatever, I don't really care. It doesn't. I don't care about it. But friends is also another thing that's, I would say, it's rather difficult when you live where I do because I live in a suburb outside of the main city. Um, but also because I work on the weekdays. Like, well, everybody, I work on the evenings and the weekdays, instead of the normal time. But making friends here is kind of the same. I mean, you can make friends using the same sort of apps, Tinder and Badoo and everything like that. Or you can just, although I will say something that is a bit different here. I have made several friends and gone on a date or two, literally just social media. Someone adds me as a friend, or I just, you know, late o'clock, yeah, late o'clock at night. um, just go just, on social media, friends you may know. I don't know this person, but heck, I'll add him anyways. Yeah, I like talking to people. You talk to them, talk, date. That's something I feel like never happens in America. Like social media, like you just don't. I mean, you do add random people, but I would say it's a bit weird in America. Where here, I don't know. It feels like it's a bit more normal. Um, I've done it occasionally, and I would say usually it happens between the hours of midnight and 2:30 in the morning when I go to bed. I don't know. I'm just kind of person that, like, once I start getting sleepy, I get very complimenty. So I will often, you just see someone, hey, that person's got great hair. I want to tell them they got great hair. So you make some friends like that. But for the most part, it's kind of hard to make friends here because in the same way of dating, a lot of guys will get very jealous with their girlfriends. For example, I've had friends before where when they got a boyfriend, they just stop talking to me and just completely. And that's because they're like, "Oh yeah, my boyfriend," like he get really jealous. Like it's unhealthy jealous. That's like childish. Um, But that's not the point. The point is that's fairly common here. Like, if you come here and you're a guy and you've got a friend that's a girl that's Russian, like, just be ready that if she gets a boyfriend, there's a, I would say, a more than likely, no, I wouldn't say more than likely, but a non-zero chance that she will just, hey, I've got a boyfriend now. We can't talk anymore. We can't hang out anymore. Which happens a bit in America, but I've never really felt it to the same degree that I've found here in Russia. And as for making guy friends, it can be difficult. I've never really made any guy friends here. All my friends are girls here. I've tried. It's not for a lack of trying. Well, also due to the fact that I'm not like I I only need like 3 friends in my life to be okay, and they don't even have to be in the same city as me. Just like as long as I got like one in the same city as me, I'm good. Um, so I've tried to make guy friends here, but I've noticed that I would say like the level of English here is rather I wouldn't it's low. It's lower than a lot of places, and I would say guys on average maybe have a lower level than girls. Um, and a lot of them, especially my age, they want to go out and drink and things like. They want to go to pubs and bars and clubs and things like that, and which I don't mind, but I like to do that maybe twice a month. I'm not a once a weekend type of person, and I am especially not 2 times in one weekend. That's just insanity to me. Um, so I don't know. That's just it's difficult to make friends here if you don't speak Russian super well. You'll have to find someone who speaks English quite well, and even then, I've found that it's pretty common just to not see your friend for like 2 months. Um, which I have a lot of. But thankfully, I'm the kind of person that if I spend the whole weekend by myself doing nothing, um, I am completely fine with that. So I feel like I'm justifying everything. I'm trying to convince myself I'm not lonely. um, I don't get lonely easily, to be honest. I've gone, God, I lived for almost a whole year basically by myself. It was for 8 months basically. I was the only native speaker at the school. No, I wasn't the only one at the school, but I was the other teacher basically just came to the school and left whenever they were done. No hanging out, nothing. Um, so I kind of got used to just going home and just being by myself, but it wasn't lonely. I was just like having fun. So if you are coming to Russia and you are not going to be in the main city or you're going to be in a rather small city, just be forewarned that you might have to learn to do that. You might have to learn to um, just be happy with just being by yourself because, as I said before, if you don't speak Russian perfectly, a lot of people are a bit hesitant to try to make a super solid friendship with you because, it's like then, they can't like bring you with their friends or do other things. It's kind of have to be one on one. So it makes it a little more difficult. But I will say though, here, if you do become friends with someone, it is much, much more likely to last. In the sense that if you don't, like in America, I've noticed if you don't meet with someone like, God, it seems like once every month or something, they just kind of forget about you, and you try to do it again, and they're just like, maybe. Here, it's like if someone says, "Hey, let's hang out sometime next month," then they mean it. You will eventually if they're not working, um, and the work will be another topic, but um. Yeah, so it is a bit more difficult to make friends here. Okay, so that'll be the end of this episode. I try to go for 30 to 33 minutes. This episode's a little bit shorter just because I don't want to repeat myself too much. I do want to get the point across, but I don't want to um, bore you with it. I'm trying to make it fun though. All right. So as always, thank you for listening. If you liked it, please like this on YouTube and share it with your friends. If you didn't like it, let me know. I felt like maybe this episode was a bit more, I don't want to say ranty, but I talked directly a lot instead of kind of throwing it up in the air. But anyways, if you did like it, please leave a like. If you didn't like it, let me know. Send me a message. And if you really liked it, share it with your friends. Let them know. I'm going to try to continue. I hope next episode I'll talk a bit more about culture and things like that rather than my experiences with it and kind of give a broader overview. So, thank you very much.